Hey folks, thanks for joining me today. I am so excited about this tutorial today because it is a new mold that I received from the Happy Dotting Company. It's the largest rock that she has available and it's 4.5 inches wide. So that gives me more of a surface to be able to do my design on. So I'm really excited about doing this for you. So I have done a base coat of black and let it dry, and I just painted it on. And then I went back with another coat of paint and then I sponged it so that it gives a nice smooth surface to be able to work with. A lot of my inspirations come from the internet, so I'm constantly searching images of different things just to sort of give me inspiration and come up with an idea. And I had come across this Graffiti Heart, and I've always wanted to give it a try. I found it like about a year ago. Never really painted it, but now I have this large stone that will work perfect for it. So what I did was I used Paynes gray and put it on as a quick base coat, and then added white to give it some kind of flow. I'm doing the same on the other side with red, and I'm just making sure that the flow continues the same way as I did with the Paynes gray, and this will be my background. I will also be adding a little bit of the red into the gray and some of the gray into the red, just to give it the transition flow as well as the directional flow. So it's just whatever you feel you want to do, whatever your heart desires. You don't even have to use these colors. You can use something totally different. It's just a different technique that I wanted to try, and I'm very pleased with how the outcome finished off with this kind of a technique. And it really is just putting paint down on your canvas, whatever your canvas could be. I'm using a art stone, but you can use like a canvas or wood or whatever your heart desires. So really all you're doing is slapping paint down. Then you're using your brush to manipulate the direction. Adding lights and darks to it also gives it the dimensional look and adds to the flow. I don't know the official term that's used for this kind of painting, but I have seen it done on one stroke painting where you actually load one side of your paintbrush with one color and then the other side of your paintbrush with another color. And then it naturally blends in the middle when you swipe it on your palette back and forth in the same direction. So that's what I did just to break up the differences from the red side and the gray side. So now what I'm doing is I'm just sketching on the design of the graffiti heart. Um, and I'm just making some swirls and adding some little extras just to fill in some of the spaces. And then I get painting. So the first thing that I do is I outline it all in black. So especially the outside of the heart, because I'm going to be doing some blending inside the heart to really make it sort of stand out from the background. So I just outline it in black with my outlining brush, and then I slap on some red paint. This is the same red paint that I used for the background color, but it's going to be of the pure color. I'm not mixing it with anything. I will be doing some blending though to get some dark areas and some light areas, and I will be using a blending sponge instead of using my brush. But I just wanted to get a nice base coat on here first, and that's what I'm doing here, making sure that I've got a nice thick base coat and it's up tight to the black outline that I've already done. That's okay if you go over it a little bit. You can certainly go back with your black and touch up and clean it all up to make it look that like perfect or as perfect as you can get. And yeah, so now I'm just sponging it all in, and it really gives a nice even coat. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. And if you want to get notifications, hit that bell and it'll tell you every time that I post a new video. I do post every Friday, so definitely keep your bell notifications going and you'll get a notification every Friday when I post a new video. So here I am putting in some Paynes gray onto the left side of the heart. And what I'm doing is I'm just blending it in. I want to get two different shades of the red. So I just work at it and I keep blending away. Now, when you're working with acrylic paint, definitely you have to work fast when you're blending because it does dry rather quickly. So definitely blend quickly and keep the paint worked. But if it does start to dry, you can always spritz it with a little bit of water, but just a little bit. You don't want to saturate it. And you can continue to work away at the blending. So that's what I did here. I did one side of the heart dark and the other side of the heart light just by adding Paynes gray on one side and adding white on the other. And then I go back in with the pure color of the red and I put it in the middle. So that way I get the light side and the dark side and then the center of being the actual color. It's actually a really neat effect and it looks really good when it's all resined up. And I'm so excited to show you the end result. But keep watching and you keep learning with this technique on how to really blend things in and get them done nice. And one thing I should also mention too is that when you're blending, make sure you use different sponges because you want to make sure that your pure color is the pure color and then your dark color and your light color will be mixed in with it. So you should be using three separate finger daubers. Um, and if you're interested in getting your own set of finger daubers, I have listed the link in the description below. So you can click on that and it'll take you over to Amazon and you can buy your own. I also have a link to the Happy Dotting Company. That is where I purchased the mold for making this stone. She's got so many different sizes and tools that you can use for making your own art stones and doing art mandalas. Uh, really, really great site. Another place to get some dotting tools, which I use all the time now, is the Dotting Center. And I've listed a link to her Etsy shop as well in the description below. I'm just adding a little bit of white with a blending brush that I have just to give it that light reflection kind of appearance, and that way it gives that heart just a little bit more of a 3D effect. I love doing this effect. It's so easy to do and it just adds that little bit of extra pop for your art stone, and I just love doing it. And now I'm going to outline everything in gold. So that includes these little swirly things, I guess you call them. So I'm outlining everything in gold and I'm not completely following the design that I had originally drawn on, and that's okay. I used a general charcoal pencil, so it easily erases, so I'm not worried about it. But I really am just letting myself go with the flow of it and allowing the paint to go where it wants to go. And although I am following some of the design, I'm not being absolutely perfect with it. And definitely outlining the heart just to give it that little extra more of a pop from the background, and it separates it. So I just continue doing my outline with the gold paint, and I'm just using a really thin paintbrush. Usually I use the eyeliner brushes, but this time I wanted something a little bit thinner. So I have this one here that I use for when I'm doing really, really small detailed work with it, and it flows so nicely. Another tip that I'd like to give you is when you're doing this, definitely use fresh paint out of the bottle, because if you have filled up your paint trays with all of your colors that you're going to use, and let's say it took you 20 minutes to do all the blending on the heart. By the time you get to the gold to start putting it on, it's already developed a film on the top, or like a skin. And that means that the paint has already started to dry, and it means that the flowability is not as great. So definitely pour out your paints when you need them rather than being prepared ahead of time. I'm telling you this because I've learned from experience. So I'm just passing it on to you to let you know that it's definitely easier to pour your paints out when you're ready to use them rather than having them all ready to go. Doesn't mean that you can't have your bottles on the table ready, but just don't pour them out. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding some dimension to these swirls. So everything's outlined in gold. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking my black and I'm putting on a black line on the bottom part. And this is going to allow it to have that 3D effect. So your shadows and your lights. So on the bottom and anywhere I would assume that the light would be casting a shadow is where I'm putting a bit of the black outline. I will be going with some white and doing it on the opposite side so that it gives the reflection of light rather than casting a shadow. And just love how this effect is so easy to do, and it just makes it look more of a 3D kind of a look. And so yeah, I do that, and with all of the swirls that I have, and outlining just the bottom parts with the black, and then any of the top parts will be with the white. And again, just sort of think of it as your shadows and your lights. So if the light is coming from a direction that is casting light on the top, then you're going to have a shadow on the bottom. So when you're dealing with curves, though, it's a little bit of a different rule rather than top and bottom. So you've just got to sort of imagine what it would look like in your mind's eye and then just paint it on. If you end up painting over top of some of the gold, that's okay because you can always go back and fix it up with more gold paint on top, and it'll still look the same. So you can always go back and clean it up. Just try to be as careful as possible so you don't have to do as much cleanup, but it is possible that you can go and do that. So now I'm putting on the white. You've seen me a couple of times now use my finger to dab a little bit. It's because the other paint is dry and the white paint that I'm putting on is wet, so I can easily wipe it off and reapply if I need to. Or maybe I've put it in a spot where it doesn't belong, so I've got to take it off. So that's why it's important to always wait until your paint is dry before you move on to the next step, because then you can easily remove the paint. You can also use a Q-tip that has been dipped in some clean water, and it'll take that paint right off. So I just continue using my mind's eye to determine where the light is coming from and going the opposite side of where the shadow is. And you'll notice that I'm not doing the entire outside of the gold line. I'm just doing spots. So where the light would be hitting it or where the shadow would be casted. So I'm just doing little spots here and there. I'm not doing the whole thing. And that really gives it that 3D effect and really, really makes it pop. And it sets the design away from the background. So the background is still there. It's just not the focal point anymore because we have painted this heart. And by adding the lights and the darks on the scroll work or the swirls, really makes it look like it's 3D and separates it from the background. I will be posting this in my Etsy shop after this video goes up. So if you're interested in owning this, you can certainly go over to my Etsy shop. The link for that is in the description below. And please, while you're there, have a look at some of my other designs. Anything that I have created as a video for YouTube is there, except for the ones that I have sold. But definitely go and check that out. And if you want to see other designs that I've done that are not posted on YouTube or on my Etsy shop, please head on over to my Facebook page. I have lots posted there of past designs and just a little tidbit. I don't just paint on rocks. There's plenty of other things there to check out. And if you don't want to purchase, that's fine. You can certainly use my designs as inspiration. Just leave me a comment below and let me know what you like, what you'd like to see, or just to say hi. Just leave me a comment. To finish it off, I just add triangles of dots. So one dot on top and then one on either side. And I also do 3 dots along the edges of the swirls just to add that little extra. I love dots and I put dots on everything. I don't have a dotted border around this one, so I had to get my dots in there somehow. And as always, I paint one off camera and one on camera, so stay tuned to the end to see both results. And remember, folks, life is what you make it, so get creative.